a successful ministry for Mile High Church, and her years of powerful service in our international community to support all of us in the Science of Mind and the Centers of Spiritual Living. Please help me welcome Reverend Michelle Medrano.
Thank you, Marie. I promise not to tell him everything, okay? Because I have known Marie for many years, and we have created a lot of mischief together. So I'm very grateful to be here tonight. I'm getting my phone out because I'm also very honored to be here on behalf of Reverend Leah. I adore her, and I appreciate the trust that she has placed in me to be here with you tonight. And I also was her teacher in Minister as Speaker, and I really hammered into them that you gotta end on time. And so I just want to be sure I don't go over the 2 hours allotted me tonight. So I'm just, making sure here, teaching what I taught her, right? So welcome to community this evening. I love that you and we are doing back to basics. This is a wonderful tradition in our religious science New Thought movement. It's a great way, no matter how long you've been involved in this kind of a teaching, to go back to the basic ideas. I love reading Ernest Holmes, our founder. I know some people have a love-hate relationship with reading him. Some people say reading him is just really strange, and others just adore it, and I tend to adore it. And so I noticed that over the years I've had a couple of the Science of Mind textbooks, and I've noted them and highlighted them and written things in the margins, and I will go back and reread some of the things that I highlighted voraciously and have a moment, I don't know if you ever do this, where I feel like, I don't remember ever reading that. But clearly I thought it was so important, I highlighted it. Well, that's the same feeling I have every year that we go back to basics. I think if you're fairly new to this community, new to this teaching and practicing it in your life, or if you've been around for a while, either way, it's a great opportunity to experience the basics of what it is that we teach. So I love it for that reason. And the other reason that I love it is that, well, in our teaching, we tend to be a whole bunch of nonconformists, which I also love. We're not very ordinary. We're kind of unusual. In fact, the motto at Mile High Church is, it's different here, because we believe it's kind of different in our communities. But this is one time of the year where we're doing something that many of the communities all over the world are also doing in our teaching, in Centers for Spiritual Living. Many of them are spending their Sundays during January going back to basics, going back to the basic ideas that we teach and believe in. And so it's a really wonderful thing to do. Oh, I have a little football injury here today. If I tend to do this a lot, I was watching the Bills and the Dolphins earlier, and I don't remember who made a really good move, but I had a cup of coffee in my hand, and I went, oh, the coffee went all over here. So just pray for me, will you, that it heals fast. And indeed, that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Our back to basics, it's all about prayer tonight. Activating our experience of prayer and activating your prayer power is really the important thing that I want to lean into. I was talking with a ministerial colleague recently. We were talking about something going on in our lives. We were both sharing a challenge, and she was particularly sharing a challenge, and we were talking and we were kvetching and complaining a little bit, and we were trying to come up with solutions, and we were both giving each other advice, and we were both having this conversation, and it went on a little long, I do confess. And then one of us, and I'll take credit for it, but I honestly don't remember which one, said, maybe we should pray about this. Have you thought about praying about it? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. As though it was this revolutionary idea. But that's my point, really, in starting this conversation about activating the power of prayer. I think that the notion of prayer has gotten a little antiquated for some of us, seems a little bit we're not sure if it works or not. We're not sure what prayer is. We're not sure how prayer works in this teaching. Or some of us have experienced great manifestations using the power of prayer. But any case, sometimes it's the last thing we think of. Often when it comes to solving the problems, challenges, conditions, and situations in our life, the first thing we'll think of is how to manipulate matter so that it would be different. If I could just get that person to stop doing that, I'd be so golden, right? If I could get the government, if I could get those people in that political party, if I could get the people over here to do this and to do that. And we spend a lot of our time on those kinds of solutions. But the way we teach prayer here is a little different. I have a favorite prayer that I love that makes me giggle a lot. And here it is. Dear Lord, so far today, I'm doing all right. I've not gossiped, lost my temper, been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or self-indulgent. I've not whined, complained, or cursed, or eaten any chocolate. I've charged nothing on my credit card. But I will be getting out of bed in a minute. And I think that I will really need your help then. I think that prayer, even though that's not necessarily the way that we pray here, I think that sometimes we get caught up in how it is that the things that we do or don't do impact our life. And in our teaching, learning about the power of prayer and how to activate it proactively in our life is a powerful thing to do, is the primordial thing to do, is the clear-centered thing to do. It's not that we don't take action. It's not that we don't go out and move. Ernest Holmes used to teach a specific kind of prayer, and it's called spiritual mind treatment. And many of you might have heard that we will say sometimes instead of prayer, synonymously, have you done a treatment? Or what are you going to treat about? And so we believe that you should treat and move your feet. That you should pray, and you should then also be in inspired action. But to totally and fully and most efficiently activate our prayer power, I think there's some really interesting and powerful principles and notions that are at the core and the center of our teaching that can really help us activate it. Now, I want to say that I personally believe that every prayer has power. So I don't care what tradition someone prays from. I don't care whether we're a long-time member of this teaching and find ourselves doing a beseeching prayer, oh dear God, please fix this for me, or anything like that. I think that all prayer has some power to uplift us, to support us, and the bottom line motivation of why we'd even pray to begin with is to feel and sense the connection we have to the source, to the creator of all life. However, after 31 years of ministry, and prior to that being a practitioner in this teaching, I personally believe that the most effective prayers are affirmative prayers, are spiritual mind treatments, are the prayers that we teach about here in this teaching. And here is why. We believe that the nature of prayer is all about our connection to the divine source. We believe that there's a power and a presence in this universe that is manifesting itself in, through, and as all of creation. Now, this may sound crazy in terms of being a tradition, a faith tradition, in terms of talking about the nature of the universe. However, science and physics also has broken down the nature of our universe to say that it's all the same stuff showing up in different forms and fashions and levels of vibration as things and people and phones and ether and oxygen and all the things that exist in this universe. At the core of everything there's one thing. Science has a word for it, and we have a word for it. Our word for it is God, is source, is intelligence. It is a presence, not a person. We don't believe that it's a guy in the sky that we're praying to. We believe that it's a power and a force that we are utilizing, we're always utilizing at every moment of our lives. And we believe that it's transcendent of personal desires and beliefs. In fact, many traditions who teach the notion of oneness talk about the danger of anthropomorphizing God. We have a hard time forgiving, so we project that onto God. We have a hard time seeing the beauty in that which isn't so beautiful, so we project that onto God. We have a hard time loving and accepting ourselves just as we are, so we project that onto God. But that's not the God that we believe in. The God that we believe in is no respecter of persons. It's not sitting around keeping score. Did you do this right? Did you do this wrong? That's Santa Claus. That's not God. The God that we believe is transcendent of gender. Therefore, we tend to, and if you read any of Ernest Holmes will call God it and will capitalize the I in it because it's transcendent of gender. It's not a he. It's not a she. That to me would be like, I said last week in my community, it would be like referring to gravity and saying, I just love gravity and love how he held me to the earth today. It seems kind of silly, doesn't it? Because we know that gravity is beyond gender. Gravity doesn't have a gender. Well, neither is God. God is transcendent. So in our prayers, we don't even tend to say, he will save me or uplift me or he does this. We tend to, if we're in alignment with Ernest Holmes, and if you've heard your practitioners here and your minister probably have heard a prayer that is all about how God, it is here, it is now, it is a presence, it is a force, it is an energy pouring itself through creation, and it's pouring itself through each one of us at all times. And the filter for the manifestation of what occurs in the world of form is human consciousness. The filter. It's like we are the mold providers. And so it pours through us at all times. And what it is that we tend to give the most energy to is what it forms and fashions itself and says, yes, my beloved. Would you like to worry more about that? Yes, my beloved. Would you like to complain more about that? Yes, my beloved. By your complaining, you're telling me you'd like more of that. By your judgments and your hatred and your unwillingness to be love, you are passionately worrying, being angry, holding on to resentments. You are passionately judging other people. So guess what? Have more of that. That's what you want, because that's what you're putting energy into, right? Please tell me I'm not the only one, right? I'm not. We all, part of what we get to learn and work with in this teaching is the understanding that this force and this source is continuously expressing through us. And so I would suggest to us then that if this presence and this power is pouring through us and utilizing our consciousness, everything we think, feel, give energy to, and habitually turn our attention to, then we are in a constant state of prayer, constant state of co-creation, a constant state of allowing God and Source to activate itself through us. And to activate and utilize the power of prayer, to me, is merely to awaken to this reality, to finally say, okay, I get it. I am thinking, feeling, being, giving energy to things, and therefore it is flowing through me, and that if I want something different, I must be and think something different. And for me to be and think something different might mean that I have to activate formal prayer in my life to change what is occurring. I might have to consciously give up my addiction to worry and instead be more affirmative. I might have to consciously choose a better thought about other people and about myself and about my life. And doing that begins to activate what's already activated within each and every one of us to be true. It's just that we wake up to it and we begin to use it consciously on our behalf and on behalf of other people and on behalf of the world, such that we can then utilize this power of prayer in a more conscious way. Holmes says, and my favorite line that I resonate with all the time is that God can do nothing for us that it cannot do through us. We are the instrument. If we saw ourselves like a guitar, like Jimmy had that instrument, what are you tuning to? And just like a guitar, whatever it's tuned to, that's what's going to play. What you and I are tuned to is what is going to show up more of. We are indicating in consciousness that this is what we're interested in. Therefore, there are some things that we can really do to consciously utilize this power we've been given, this natural power that we have been given. The first one, as you might imagine, and as I bet you talk about a lot around here in your classes and in the work we do, tend to your consciousness. There was a book really popular way back in probably the 80s, I think. And I used to think it was a little dramatic, and now I'm kind of getting it. And it said you can't afford the luxury of a negative thought, was the name of the book. And so what begins to happen is that the power of prayer being consciously activated in our lives then invites us to look around and tend to our consciousness. One of the greatest gifts of this teaching is becoming an observer of what I'm thinking. What is it that I'm really thinking? And in this regard, we have to become just like any other addict who wants to be sober and clean. We got to become rigorously honest with ourselves, and we've got to become sober about our addictive thinking. Because we have addictive thought processes that we might have inherited from family, we might have inherited from the culture, we might have inherited from habits of mind that we have indulged in for so long. We have to pay attention, and we have to recognize and stop pretending that in the places that aren't going like we want them to go, that it's just because there's something going on that we're not a part of. In every relationship, what's happening is we're a part of that, and we can make changes to our thought that can shift the whole nature of our relationship. In our bodies, we can make shifts and we can move forward in ways that are profound and powerful. I have seen it in all these years of ministry. I've seen people heal that which appeared to be unhealable. I have witnessed people repair that which appeared to be unrepairable. I have stood in the presence of miraculous healings. In fact, I have a saying that I say to people, you know, that miracles are the norm, and I think we should just call them normicals. Normicals. Because for the person who activates this power consciously on their behalf or on behalf of anyone else, there are beautiful and amazing things that occur. But I want to be clear about this. I teach people in classes that this is a bit like tending your garden. There are weeds in your garden. Some of them are stink weeds, you know, they stink a little bit, and they're in the form of stinky thoughts that just aren't serving any of us. Thoughts about each other, thoughts about life, that just not serving. They're not happy thoughts, they're not productive thoughts, they're not pleasant thoughts, and they're like weeds growing in the garden. And one of the jobs I was given as a kid, which I did not like, and I was very allergic to weeds, and so I was sneezing and snorting my way through this, was to weed our yard. We had this huge yard at one point. And what I noticed is that some of the weeds, I could grab hold of them and I could pull them out, and I could totally get the root and just toss them away, and they would never grow again. Others, I'd have to get a shovel, and they were thick, and they were hanging on, and I'd have to tug and tug and tug, and I might eventually get that weed out. But a little of the root would be stuck in the dirt, and then the weed would grow again. But I noticed every time I pulled it, the root would get weaker and weaker until eventually even the most stubborn weed would disappear and dissipate and no longer grow. That's how your thoughts work. That's how my thoughts work. That's how those stinky weed thoughts that you have work. The problem and the challenge is the willingness to take the discipline to weed the garden of your mind. To be willing, and sometimes that's why, that's the science part of religious science. Ernest Holmes believed that the reason he included the word science is that this works for anybody. Anybody can use these teachings. That if I weed my garden and Marie weeds her garden, that the nature of the universe will be such that as long as you do that, it will work. And it's no respecter of persons. It's not like the garden goes, well, I like Marie a lot better, so I'm going to let her have what she wants, but Michelle, not so much. It doesn't work like that. Everyone who weeds the garden of their mind and takes the discipline to do so can pull those weeds, but just be aware, you might have to pull them once or twice, especially with the ones that stick to you. If you stick to your story sticks to you, right? If you stick to your story of being unworthy, unlovable, not enough, of being if you stick to your story about life never works for you, how things don't ever work out, and who could love me when I'm this age or this body weight or this whatever, your story sticks to you. You get to be right. That's like for those of us who love to be right, the righteous ones of the bunch, yay, right? But some things are just not worth being right about. And many of those are the weeds in our mind that no longer serve us. And so the disciplined one says, okay, I've got to do some journaling and get clear. What do I really think about that? What am I willing to give up? How can I monitor my thoughts? And so you see, for years, a lot of the teaching about affirmative thinking, Louise Hay was very powerful in teaching us all about affirmations, of putting them up everywhere. There are now even apps that have timers on them. So in my mind, anyone who wants to be disciplined to change their mind, and of course, that was one of Ernest Holmes' greatest phrases, change your thinking, change your life. If we really want to do that, so many tools are available to us, from the old-fashioned ones of just sticking a affirmation on a little stick-it on your phone or on your mirror as you're getting ready, to using your devices to have an affirmation come up, to begin to be disciplined about planting new ideas, because it's pulling out old weeds, which sometimes looks like forgiving the past. Sometimes looks like saying, enough. Oh, what a powerful word. Powerful word. I've watched the gyrations of my mind sometimes about things go on and on and on. And sometimes, just like a loving parent has looked me in the eyes and said, enough now. Stop. And then I watch as that thought comes up. Enough now. Peace. So I work diligently on my own garden. And that's part of what we have to do. That's why our centers have services each week, have classes, opportunities to do the deep work that's necessary to change our thinking and change our life, to tend to that garden profoundly, powerfully, and consciously, and to see where we might be contributing. Because I can see little thought bubbles over some of your heads going, well, I don't think I thought that. That thing that happened to me, I didn't think that. That just kind of happened. And yeah, I get that. But we're all responsible for, when something happens, to say, how am I going to use that? Am I going to use the things that happen to me to cause me to give up on life, to become bitter, or to get better? I got that off of a meme. I didn't make that up. But am I going to be bitter, or am I going to be better? And if we've been years and years being bitter about something, then we get to take a moment and say, enough. Enough. It's time to stop. I'd rather be happy. I'd rather live a life where I felt connected. I'd rather have a loving existence. I'd rather have a joyful existence. What am I getting out of remaining bitter, resentful, angry? What do I get out of it? Nothing. You might have the illusion that, and you think you're right, but that's only in your own mind. To other people, you may not be right at all. But to get better is to be willing to tend to our consciousness and walk forward in a way that allows us to let go, let God, and let let new seed be planted, which is the second part of tending to the garden. Ernest Holmes says it's not just about getting rid of negative thought, it's also planting positive thoughts. Being willing to then have a vision or an idea or a sense of, what is it that I really want to experience? I want to have peace in this relationship. I want to feel great in my skin. I want to work in a place where I feel appreciated and welcome. I want to experience greater happiness. I choose to experience financial abundance. And it's giving those thoughts the planting that they need in our beautiful garden to allow them to grow. So we allow ourselves to do this, to tend our own garden, the most important work that we do. The next part that I think is important to activate the power of prayer is to do something that some of us are not very willing to do. Let ourselves be helped in this process. When I first moved to Huntington Beach, I was a brand new minister. I was 27 years old. I lived by myself. I didn't have any friends. I knew the people I worked with very well. I knew Roger Teal and his wife. They had a family. But I found myself alone in my little condo and quite frequently wanting to put the furniture away or move something around. And I would tell myself stories about how I didn't want to bother people. And I'm rather strong, so I would move these big pieces of furniture around, and I would move my bed around, and I would put things where I'd want them, and then I'd be so tired. And then I'd go to work the next day, and I'd tell people what I did, and they'd say, well, why didn't you just ask us to come help you? We would have come help you move that furniture. It's no big deal. But I was so unwilling. It was like, oh, I'd have to ask for people to help me. Oh. And some of us are like that. I often say we're kind of like little toddlers. I do myself. I do myself. I don't need you. I do myself. Right? Okay, beloveds, here's the truth. Very often, all of us get into a stinkweed part of our garden. And though we are weeding as fast as our little weed hands will do it, we're just not making any progress. And our founder, Ernest Holmes, was so wise because honestly, the first ecclesiastical office that he sanctioned were practitioners. Before he ever decided to have us minister folk, he had practitioners. Now, why did he do that? I think it's because he knew that when people want to change their consciousness, to shift their life in a meaningful way, they can't always do it themselves. They need help. So let yourself be helped by the beautiful practitioners that surround you, that embrace you, that are here for you. Never be ashamed to let yourself be helped. The way I liken it is have faith in their faith. And lastly, pray for and with others. If there's an opportunity to be in a prayer group, do that. If there's an opportunity to step into opportunity to be supported in prayer or to support someone else, do it. Because the power of prayer is beautiful. If we go back to football, we can talk about Damar Hamlin, who is a player there on the Buffalo team, and he had a heart incident on the field a few weeks ago. And John Pavlovitz said something I thought was really profound. I don't know if prayer healed Damar Hamlin, but seeing separate and divided people coalesce around the fate of a human being and watch their effusive joy at his recovery, that is a fairly miraculous thing in itself and an answered prayer. I think we've gotten a little bit dense about thoughts and prayers, but truly people prayed effusively for this young man, and he is recovering and doing well. And the skeptic in us might go, well, he had good doctors, or he only had that happen. Whatever. Many people prayed for him. The power of group prayer is profound, profound. We can heal ourselves, each other, and the world. So take the time to let yourself participate in these prayerful moments that are available to us all. Activate the power of prayer in your life. In my world, there's nothing better. There's nothing that will change it more profoundly than that. Let's pray together. How about that? I'm going to do a full 5-step affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, which you would learn in classes. If you want to take classes here, you can learn all about how to do this. It's a wonderful process. So please just take a moment to join me as we lean into and surrender into the reality that there is one life, one power, one presence in this universe. I recognize and honor that it is expressing in, through, and as all of creation. It is the life that each one of us is living right here and right now, because it is everywhere present in all things, in all people, in all places. It is right here in this very room, in this very moment. I am one in and as this presence. It is flowing through me, through my consciousness, and through my word right here and right now. And I'm activated consciously and conscientiously by the power and the presence of this word. And therefore, I accept and affirm the truth of each one of us right now. That we feel and sense that divine spark within us, sparking us into a greater desire to live a bigger, more joyful, more successful, more fun, more exciting life experience in one or many areas of our life. And I accept and affirm that right here and right now, that power, that presence is activated fully and completely within each one of us. That we set aside all skepticism, that we set aside all doubt, that we live in faith and trust, and we do the work necessary to go back to alignment after alignment after alignment, thought after thought, emotion after emotion, allowing ourselves to be in alignment with the greatest truth of who and what we are, now and always. And I give thanks that this is the truth of each one of us. Joyfully give thanks for the manifestation of this good in our lives. As I trust and have faith, I let it go, I let it be. I surrender it into that law that makes it so. It is done, it is good, and so it is.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Awesome. So, if tonight touched or inspired you in some important and meaningful way, or shifted something for you, or if you were in Foundations class and you made notes, I see Foundations class people here, about how to pray, because you just got one of the good ones laid right on you. So, right on you. So now, those of you in Foundations who are learning how to pray, you know how to pray. So if you were inspired by this, we are going to do our offertory at this point. So if the ushers would come forward and prepare to help us. We are going to place our hand over our heart, and if you would be so kind as to repeat after me, this gift I give is spirit and form. Circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyfully I receive. Thank you, Jimmy and Julie. Normally, Reverend Leah would bless the offertory, but I am not qualified to do that. So, thank you. And I would like to acknowledge the newcomers. If you're here for the very first time and you feel comfortable and safe enough to stand, please do so. Our ushers have a packet that they would be happy to give you, and we would like to just let you know we see you, we welcome you, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And it doesn't look like we have any newcomers, and that's good. Okay, that's not good. It's if you're new and you didn't stand up, welcome, and never mind. Were you going to share what Lonnie was going to share? Okay. So right now then we have been going through a process this month of the practitioner sharing a little bit about what it's like to be a practitioner. And so Christine is going to come forward and share a little bit about becoming a practitioner.
Yes, so the process of becoming a practitioner begins with foundations. So those of you who are in foundations right now, this could be the start of a new journey for you, right? So from foundations, then we move into our other teachings. So we go through our courses that are offered to you all. We learn about the power of prayer. We spend a lot of time meditating. We spend a lot of time working on learning the 5 steps of affirmative prayer. We learn about the mystics that we already are. We learn about the teachings and the origins of New Thought and Science of Mind. We study the works of Ernest Holmes in many different ways, and there is a lot of reading, there is a lot of journaling, there is a lot of work that goes into us doing the work on ourselves. From there, we move into our prac school and our practitioner teachings. So that first year is a lot of what Reverend Dr. Michelle talked about, and tending to those weeds, uncovering those things, that we may have encountered in our other classes, and digging deeper, and cultivating that, and really examining what our own beliefs are and working through those. And then in year 2, we spend a lot of time working through the process of one-on-one sessions. So and when you come to a practitioner for work, we spend some time with you moving through your limiting beliefs and thoughts. And so our year 2 is cultivating and honing those skills to be able to do that with you. So once we do all of that, we move into a space of tests. Scary, right? Somebody actually examining you and your level of consciousness and your spirituality. So we do some written tests, and then we actually move into some oral panels, some interviews with ministers and practitioners, and we go through a process of questions and answers and prayer. So that's what we do to become a practitioner. We work in our own consciousness. We tend to our own weeds. We do the work that we need to do on ourselves so we can hold you and know for you your greatest spiritual truth. So just know that we are here for you, to pray with you, to pray for you, and we're doing our work too.
Thank you so much, Christine. Okay, this is going to be great because we couldn't get the slides working. This is going to be like listening to the radio back in the day. Remember, before there was TV, before we had all these flashy things that went, we'd sit around the radio and listen to the Shadow and the Green Hornet. Well, I'm going to do the announcement. I used to listen to those when I was in junior high. I love those things. So, if you have to close your eyes for this to be exciting for you, so here come the announcements. Our January outreach. Nestled in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit is our group that we're tithing to this month. Every month we choose a different organization to support. This year we are sending a percentage of our tithes to Nestled in the NICU. So that's very exciting, so you know about that. They provide care packages for families with infants staying in the NICU. So there is a QR code in the back, I think, that Doug has set up. If it was up on the screen, you could click on the QR code up there, but we have the QR codes all over the welcome tables and in the dining room. If you're interested in clicking into the QR code to find out about that, and there's a link in there to their Amazon wish list if you would like to go in there and donate to them or buy something on their wish list directly. The last Sunday of every month, we have breakfast for dinner. The Utes cook us breakfast for dinner. So on January 29th, $10. The proceeds support our teen program, so send the kids to youth camp over the summer, which really means give the parents a vacation over the summer. So there's parents in the back going, yes! So have breakfast for dinner with us the last Sunday of every month, January 29th coming up. We also have a Four Agreements book study coming up February 2nd to March 2nd, facilitated by Brooke Minkle, who happens to also be our youth director, who will be very grateful if you have breakfast for dinner with us so she can go on vacation when her kids go to youth camp. $99 to be in the Four Agreements book study. So it's a 5-week class that will explore the oftentimes unconscious agreements that we allow to limit our success. Also, today, join us after service for a potluck back in the celebration hall on the other side of the glass. And there's a potluck dinner. People brought lots of food. There's plates, and if you didn't bring food, there's still food back there. And help us eat and enjoy each other's company. And after service, the practitioners will be available to pray with you. I know that Christine is here, and she would be very pleased to pray with you. And we also have prayer request forms in the back. If you would like to fill one of those out, you can do that. And there's a prayer workshop on the 29th. There is a prayer workshop on the 29th, and Lonnie Hickman is facilitating that, and it's from 2:30 to 4:30 that day. So you can pick up where we left off here in today's talk in the thing, and that workshop will be here on site at the here. Yeah, so I'm just going to say the benediction, and if you could repeat after me, I would greatly appreciate it. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. And may you be a source of healing for all beings. Oh, there's one more thing. I think we're going to say something together. It's not up on the board, so you can repeat after me again. Normally, we'd all say it together, but love is who I am. Love is who we are. Love is all there is. Thank you.